Anshul, we're just going to come over to you first. Anshul, you said right now in your ground report that there are actually more than 50 people in the temple right now, despite very specific orders that there should only be 50 people if this was at all going to be allowed. Bring us the context. How have more than 50 people been allowed inside the temple?
So yes, approximately 51 people is the number that has been given to us by the VHP, and what the administration is saying that 51 people have been allowed to go inside the temple, out of which one batch has returned back after doing their Jal Abhishek at the holy Shivling that is at the Narad Mahadev temple. Just a few moments ago, the VHP's working president Alok Kumar Bansal has reached the spot where he has also gone inside. What the VHP is now telling us is that they have gotten the permission to carry out the yatra, but this yatra would be carried out in batches, and these batches would be taken from one temple to another, because remember, in this entire yatra of 80 kilometers, there are 3 temples in which this yatra is supposed to go. Now the permission has been given to go ahead with this yatra, but this yatra would be taken out amongst the police vehicles itself, and it will be done in batches of 10 to 15 people each. So approximately 15 people have left from here. They are going to the next temple, that is in Firozpur Jirka, which is approximately 40 kilometers away from the spot. Remember, Firozpur Jirka was also one of the spots where the violence had broken out on the 31st of July as well. So yes, a batch of VHP delegates have been allowed to go to Firozpur Jirka now, whereas the other approximately 35 to 40 people are still inside the temple premises. Now, senior officials of the police have been doing continuous rounds. In fact, SP rank officers and the ASP rank officers have been continuously coming in and making sure that the law and order situation is absolutely under control. Even the locals at this point in time are not being allowed to go anywhere close to the temple. Remember, this morning itself, the locals were initially allowed. The people who had the Aadhaar card bearing the address of Nu, those people were allowed to go inside the temple and offer their prayers. But now, since the VHP delegation has gone inside, the administration is trying to make sure that the lesser number of people, the easier it is for them to control the situation, and hence the locals have now also been stopped. So approximately inside the temple at this point in time, we can safely say that 35 to 40 people are inside the temple, including senior shears of the VHP.
Anshul, I do want to go over to the other reporters. Let me quickly add a follow-up question for you, though. How are residents of Nu reacting? Have you had the chance to speak to anyone who lives in Nu? What is their reaction to this?
So yes, I spoke to a few people who had gone and visited the temple this morning. They said that this is definitely an unprecedented situation that they are seeing in front of their eyes, and they again pleaded the administration that they should be allowed to carry out this yatra, because this is something that they really believe in. Okay. And this temple is of much significance, because remember, this temple is said to be approximately 5,000 years old, and when the Pandavas had initially left in the Agyat Yatra after the war of Mahabharata, then this was the first pit stop that they had made, and this was the Shivling that was put by them. So yes, this holds a massive place in the Hindu religion, and hence the Hindus of this area definitely want to go ahead with this yatra, but the administration is very, very clear that since the law and order situation is still not come back to normal, they cannot allow this yatra to be conducted, and hence the yatra that is being taken out at this point in time by the delegates of the VHP, that is being done in batches of 10 to 15 people.
Okay, Anshul, just stay with us. Let's now go over to my colleague Arun. As you can see on the screens, Arun and my colleague Anvit have just joined us. Let's go to Arun first. Arun, you're standing, I believe, on the Delhi-Haryana border. Arun, before you tell us the status of the situation on the Delhi-Haryana border, it seems peaceful, but just confirm that for us. But first also, Arun, if you could tell our audiences, what led to the mood change when it comes to the Haryana government? 3 days ago, they'd been very clear, no procession, no people of any kind. Now we know 50 people have been allowed, though they still say no procession. What led to that?
Well, I couldn't get your question properly, but of course, I am at the border of Delhi and Gurugram, and in fact, at this juncture, I don't see any sort of halt or any sort of barricading or police presence. In fact, we are given to understand that there has been a sort of understanding between Vishwa Hindu Parishad and other religious organization who were in fact planning to conduct this Shobha Yatra with the police, because they understand that, any untoward incident can actually completely create a wrong picture of the country when you have G20 going on in the country, and a specific location, of course, if we talk about Nu, where G20 Sherpa meeting is going to take place from 3rd and 7. So, keeping all these things in mind, we're seeing that VHP people are also not really going that hard for this Shobha Yatra. Of course, some of them whom I've spoken to, they were saying that they want to complete this Yatra, a symbolic Yatra, because they are saying that on 31st of July they could not complete their Shobha Yatra, and therefore, on the last day of Shravan, last Monday of the Shravan Maas, as per the Hindu calendar, is something on which they want to complete, and therefore initially they sought permission from the Haryana administration about this Shobha Yatra, to complete the Shobha Yatra, which of course was not given by the authorities. And then of course certain arrangements were made where we are seeing that close to 50 people were actually allowed to go in that Shiv temple in Nu, where in fact during that violent clashes a few people took shelter when those stone peltings were taking place. As far as the ground presence of the police in some parts of Gurugram and Nu Mewat are concerned, that is something which is there, because this time around there is no scope for any mistake. When everybody is watching, very keenly, keeping a close eye on the situation in Mewat, Nu and Gurugram, and therefore Chief Minister himself closely monitoring the situation. We are given to understand that he is regularly in touch with the senior police officials on the ground. He is taking all the updates as to what is happening, and of course, the back channel talks were already done with the organizers. So therefore, we are not seeing much of a chaos. It seems that things are going as per the agreement between the organizers of Shobha Yatra and the administration. Okay. And of course, we are also given to understand that senior officials of the police are regularly visiting those spots which are critical, which they find that this place could become a difficulty for them. So they are on the ground. They are speaking to the people who are on the ground, so that there is no untoward incident occurred this time around.
Arun, thank you. Let's go over now to my colleague Anvit, who's in Gurugram right now. Gurugram saw much violence take place the hours after the Nu violence took place, in the night, in the early morning, and the day after. Anvit, before I ask you about the situation in Gurgaon, can you answer the question we'd asked Arun earlier? He wasn't able to hear us. What led to the mood change in the Nu administration? Earlier they'd said no one would be allowed. At 10 a.m. we shared with our audiences that 50 people were allowed. What led to that?
See, even now, no permission stands valid for any Shobha Yatra. Government had made this clear earlier also, and they have stuck to this point that no permission has been given for any Shobha Yatra to be carried out in Nu or in Gurugram or in Haryana, any part of Haryana. However, some people, some of the devotees will visit temples for Jalabhishek, and this process is allowed. Police have clearly said that people can go to temples and do Jalabhishek and whatever rituals they want to indulge into, they are allowed. But no yatra will be carried out. Not groups of people are not being allowed to travel from Gurugram to Nu, or in fact in Nu border from any area. Group of people are not being allowed. Earlier morning we were at Bhonsi toll, where we saw that vehicles were being checked in detail. All the people who were in vehicles like buses or public transport, they were being checked, their IDs were being checked. Also suspicious people, maybe in a car where 5-6 people are going travelling, all of their IDs were being checked, details of vehicles were being noted, and vehicles were also being inspected in detail to make sure that no lathis, swords, sticks, they are being carried. Because last time when Shobha Yatra took place, remember, Toya, many videos circulated where people were seeing brandishing pistols, swords and lathis and dandas also, which had also police believes that had incited violence and had provoked violence in many of the areas where some other community dominated areas from where the yatra was passing. So it also led to some altercation between the two communities, which eventually snowballed into riots. So police are making sure no such elements cross over the border from any of the part of Haryana to Nu, which currently remains sensitive. And today even Nallardev Mandir, from where Anshul has been reporting, because that was the epicenter of the violence last time also. Shobha Yatra had, Jalabhishek Yatra had started from there. It originated from there and it had to go to some other temple. So that area also today remains under heavy lockdown and with heavy police deployment, and no one is being allowed to move in groups, or no one is being allowed to take vehicles to that temple. Everyone is being allowed to go there on foot, and groups of people are not being allowed in that vicinity of that area.
Okay.
We are right now in sector 47 Gurugram. You can see in Gurugram situation is completely normal.